everybody, welcome back to Throat Punch. Oh, that's your part. That's your part. Okay, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back to
Throat Punch Lunch.
Throat Punch Lunch. And this is an episode that is going up while we are out at the Cool Mini or Not Expo in Atlanta. We're leaving tomorrow, actually, but we're having to get all this done ahead. Why are you here anyway? You don't know?
I don't know.
Why are you here, though?
You told me to come.
Yeah, that's true. I told you to come. Well, listen, this is going to be a great episode for you guys. Look at the camera. Stop looking at everything behind you. This is going to be a great episode for you guys. I've got a lot of good segments. I was not able to record another segment. I apologize. I sincerely apologize. We've had a lot going on with our family over the last couple of days and weeks, so I have been unable to record, but my contributors are staying on the ball and they have recorded a lot of good segments for you. So without further ado, we're going to get you over to them so you can see what they've created for you. So what are you going to say now? You don't know?
I don't know.
Say, enjoy the show. And look at them and say, enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show. Let's get to it.
Hi, this is Ambié from Board Game Blitz, and this is Strategically Thematic, a segment where I talk about theme in different strategic games. This time, I'm talking about Space Alert. Space Alert is a real-time cooperative game where you're on a mission to go scan dangerous sectors of the galaxy without getting destroyed. Your role in the game is to make sure your ship survives for 10 minutes, which is how much time it needs to gather the data it needs. Throughout the action part of the game, which lasts exactly 10 minutes, different threats will be appearing in space or on your ship. You have to work together with everyone to destroy the threats, or at least mitigate the damage enough so that your ship doesn't explode. The main mechanic of the game is programmable movement, which isn't that thematic, but one thematic part is that the game is split into 3 phases. In each phase, a soundtrack will tell you what different threats appear in that time period, and you can program what actions you'll do. After a phase is finished, you cannot change your previous actions anymore, so you have to make quick decisions on how to deal with the enemies right when they appear. There are a variety of actions you can do, such as shoot missiles at the threats, recharge the shields of the ship, and get a squad of battlebots to help you defeat intruders. You can even coordinate shooting at the enemies. Some enemies have shields that recharge each turn and take away from the damage, but if you work together and hit the enemy at the same time with multiple weapons, the damage adds up and the shields will only count once. It's really exciting being able to coordinate with your teammates to blast the enemy out of the sky. But the opposite can also happen. Sometimes your ship will take damage, and then some of its systems will malfunction and be less effective. But damage is unpredictable, and the game simulates this by making you draw a random damage tile to determine where the ship was hit. Also, you don't know what gets damaged until the resolution phase, which is after you've planned all your actions, so that adds more to the suspense of the game. Pretty much all of the actions in Space Alert have a thematic reasoning behind them. For example, the elevator, or gravel lift on the ship, is only big enough to fit one person, so if 2 people try to use it at the same time, one of them will have to use the ladder and that person will be delayed. Also, a lot of things on the ship, like shields and weapons, require energy to work, so if there's not enough energy to activate something, it won't work. Space Alert is all about working together and communicating well with your entire team. The real-time aspect of the game really brings the theme to life as you're all frantically trying to make sure you can do everything that's needed to keep your ship alive. Thanks for watching Strategically Thematic. As always, let me know what you think in the comments.
It's Roy Cannaday from Epic Gamer Night, and this is Roll with the Punches. This week we're talking about a crazy, frantic, cooperative game that only takes 5 minutes, and that's 5 Minute Dungeon. In 5 Minute Dungeon, players are trying to get through an entire deck of dungeon cards and then be able to play the appropriate cards to defeat the boss before time runs out or no one can play cards anymore. So the way it works is, in a 3-player game, each player would have 4 cards, and these cards are going to have different symbols on them. These are going to make it so that you can attack the different creatures and monsters and obstacles that come out of the deck. So in real time, everybody's going to be drawing cards and then playing down cards. Whenever you play down a card, then you get to refill your hand with another card. So basically you have a minimum hand size. So these cards are going to be coming out of your deck randomly, and monsters are going to be coming off the top of the deck. And once a player has played the correct symbols that match whatever they're trying to defeat, you get rid of those cards and draw a new card from the dungeon deck. So we've got this here. Sometimes you have special cards that are going to allow you to do different things. Like this one straight up says defeat a monster, so I could get rid of this monster and I draw my hand back up. And then there are also these extra like cards that are thrown on per the number of players. Sometimes they're mini bosses, sometimes they're different events which can do all sorts of things to mess you up. And sometimes you have cool cards like the Holy Hand Grenade, so you can try to blow those guys up as well. So depending on what cards come out of the deck, I can't really play anything here, look, because it's an obstacle that does that. The different characters are going to have different special abilities as well. So the Valkyrie special ability is that she can discard 3 cards to let all the other players draw 2 cards. So maybe I want to get rid of some of my cards so that way I can try to make it so that some of the other players can play stuff. And currently I'm still stuck. I can't really do anything. I can play this into the pile. Hopefully the other players would be able to help me out. But sometimes, depending on the way your deck comes up, you might have to do a bunch of different abilities to try to make it so other players can draw cards and get the right thing to be able to take out your opponent. Time to pause time. There's also a timer app that comes with the game that's got cool narrations and all sorts of exciting things. And you're working together as a team, throwing down cards as fast as you can, trying to get through a huge deck of dungeon cards. Once you get through all of those, you have to play the appropriate cards to be able to take out the boss. Depending on the order that all these different monsters and things come up, can definitely screw you up. So you definitely want to make sure to have characters that you're utilizing their abilities properly, so that way you can mitigate the luck of those cards coming up by being able to draw more cards or discard cards out of your hand. Because if you get stuck and just can't play anything, then you're out of the game. And if you run out of time completely, then you also lose as well. So that's 5-Minute Dungeon. Let's see what I think. I love the frantic real-time nature of 5-Minute Dungeon. It's crazy how you're slamming down cards as fast as you can as a team to try to take out all these monsters and obstacles and all these different things and events that pop up and giant mini bosses. And there's definitely a huge luck factor in the fact that if the cards come out of your deck a certain way and like everybody around the table can't find shields or they can't find scrolls to be able to defeat the certain monsters, it can definitely mess you up, and you definitely have to figure out how to utilize your special abilities in real time to make sure people can get new cards and switch things out. And then also sometimes different events could come up that could mess up different cards you have in your hand, or maybe mini bosses come back to back that require a certain type of thing and it can drain your time. And there's a lot of like skill in the speed and trying to recognize the patterns of the cards that are coming out and doing everything quickly, but there's also a lot of luck in how they come out of the deck. 5-Minute Dungeon is definitely super frantic and fun. Well, this has been Roll with the Punches, and I'll see you next time on Throat Punch Lunch.
3, 2, 1. I'm so disappointed in all of you, especially you, Steve. Get it together, Steve.
Hello, welcome to another Kickstarter Thrash-up. Well, believe it or not, I had 3 projects set to show off, but they all got canceled last minute. When I went to go pull all the stuff, they were canceled. So it poses a question that I've always wanted to ask you guys. Has there ever been a project that you were so looking forward to and actually went and kickstarted that got canceled? And when that happened and it got canceled, did it come back? And how did it do even better? Or did it just go away and never come back? Also, I also wonder, was there something that you guys ever kickstarted and it just didn't make it and you wanted to see that game made so bad? I would love to see your comments. First of all, I would love for you to send them to NovaPrime860, but don't be afraid to put them in the comments below. I would love to see some of your thoughts and some of the things that you were excited about and got canceled, and some of the things that you backed and just didn't get funded. Kickstarter is a very, very, really unique type of thing. People have a chance to really do some really wonderful things, and a lot of companies use it as pretty much a pre-order. So I'd like to hear your thoughts about Kickstarter. I always feel that in my own way that the bigger companies, they really don't need to do that, but in a lot of ways it does help them keep things in business. They give you so much, but how many times have the bigger companies hyped you so much and the game was just, you play it a couple times and that was it? I've had that happen a few times at least, and when it, you know, especially with the bigger companies, I always seem to be attracted to the little things like space fleets or some unique kind of miniature game that nobody else is doing. Those things always kind of suck me in. I'd love to hear your thoughts and see what you guys think, especially this massive Dice Tower audience, on what you think about Kickstarter. Well, that's all I have for this week. Until next time, I'm Rob Oren. We'll see you soon.
This is Liz Davidson with Beyond Solitaire, and I'm here to bring you another episode of Solo-Thrash, Amerithrash gaming for those of us who like to play alone. This week, I want to introduce to you one of my favorite random and strange story-based games called Tales of the Arabian Nights. Tales of the Arabian Nights is an unusual game because it's almost impossible to have a set strategy. At the beginning of the game, you decide how many story and destiny points that you think that you will acquire on your journey. You can choose any combination as long as your total number of points adds up to 20. Your goal is to start in Baghdad, have adventures all over the map until you acquire the number of story and destiny points you need, and then become the first character to return to Baghdad with a wild tale to tell. I will warn you up front, points are gained and lost in a seemingly arbitrary way throughout. Honestly, it's not much fun to play if you were overly focused on them. Tales of the Arabian Nights is a story-based game at its heart, and you will have the best time playing it if you enjoy the story as it unfolds. Every time you move your character to another location in the game, you will draw an event card, roll some dice, and use a reaction matrix to determine whom or what you will encounter. Let's say, for example, that I've landed on a yellow space and drawn this palace of 100 closets. The number 62 here is going to tell me where I need to go in the storybook to help me determine who I'm going to encounter and then decide what I'm going to do. As I mentioned, my number was 62, so I'm going to go to the Book of Tales and check out paragraph 62. So as we can see, depending on what I roll on the dice, I could run into a busy slave, a wicked sage, an insane beggar, an enchanted sage, a sandstorm, or numerous other possible interesting encounters / crises. Let's say that my dice determined that I was going to run into a wicked sage. That would have put me on encounter reaction choice column A, so I could decide, am I going to grovel to the sage? Am I going to try to rob him? Ooh, maybe I should try to court him because flirtation never hurt anybody. Or I could abduct him and see what happens if I try to kidnap him and use his powers. Now let's say I decided to court this wicked mage, wicked though he is. I would go to the reaction matrix, choose wicked, and go over to court. So I would know that I need to go back to the Book of Tales and read paragraph 192 to tell me what happened. It could be good or bad. There's really no predictable way to know how events are going to turn out in this game. But that's part of the fun. Let's say that I'm feeling saucy and that I decide to court this wicked mage. I'll go to the reaction matrix. I'll choose A because that was the letter that was assigned to him when I pulled the event card and rolled my dice. I'll go to Wicked because he is a wicked sage, and I'll go over to Court. This is going to direct me to paragraph 192 in the storybook, and then I can actually see what happened to me when I attempted to court this crazy magical wicked person. Now, I don't want to spoil the story for you in case you ever run across this encounter yourself, but let's just say that the wicked sage and I have had a very interesting encounter. If you're looking for a game where you develop a strategy and win, then Tales of the Arabian Nights is not necessarily for you. Especially because if you're playing it by yourself, there is no incentive to race to the end and get back to Baghdad before other people, because there are no other people. That said, I really enjoy Tales of the Arabian Nights. And the reason I like it so much is that I like that it encourages you to choose the weirdest reactions possible just to see what's going to happen in the crazy story that unfolds differently every single time that you play. I also appreciate Tales of the Arabian Nights' unpredictability. The actions that you choose don't necessarily turn out the way you think they would. For example, if I decide to help a poor beggar at the entrance to the city, he could actually turn out to be an evil sorcerer who curses me. Likewise, you can actually encounter someone evil and end up getting a lot of use out of them, befriending them, or even marrying them. So if you want a choose-your-own-adventure game that is different every single time, and that you will get a lot of laughs from along the way, I highly recommend Tales of the Arabian Nights. Happy gaming.
What's up, Throat Punch Lunch? Welcome back to Stuff I Like, Stuff I Hate. Stuff I Like, Stuff I Hate, whatever it's called, whatever. I'm Brian Drake, that's Carla back there. You've never seen her before. In fact, sometimes some of you probably think she's like Rotto's Jen, that she doesn't exist. No, this is Carla, it's my wife Carla. She's an amazing wife. We are backstage right now near Chicago somewhere, performing a show tonight. And I wanted to get a segment done for Throat Punch Lunch because I love the show, and I'm pretty sure I missed last time because we're moving. Did I mention that? It's been a hellacious nightmare. But here's the deal. We finally closed on our house, so that's all good. But we have a few games out that we kept out while some were in storage. Stuff I Like, though, is a game that we just played the other night for team building. Carla can tell you that she enjoyed this game as well. Stuff I Like is a thing that you can do, a game that you can do for team building. Let's say you have a youth ministry like Sam Healey, or if you are a boss, or you have a study group, and you're trying to bring your team together, the boss. Exit by Thames and Cosmos, Thames and Cosmos, depending on where you're from, how to say that, is a great team building game. For 1 to 6, maybe. Maybe I would say, we played it with 2, and it was a little bit tough. We had help from a third person every once in a while, who swears she didn't want to play it first, and then she probably really wanted to play. It's her mom. But we played it with 2. I would recommend this game up to about 5, and maybe 1 person kind of facilitating, because if you have 6, you're not going to be able to see everything. That's the problem. Now, it's a great game, though. It has a little bit of a learning curve. It's not the easiest to just kind of get into because there's a little bit of a learning curve on the puzzles. You have to learn how to do the puzzles before you can really get good at the puzzles. But once you've solved a couple of them, you're good to go. Now, I definitely recommend it. Definitely think you should get them. There's a bunch. I think they just announced 5 more, so they'll put them up to 8. And they're cheap, and they pass the book bag test, which means they can fit into a book bag, and you can fly with them. Now, Stuff I Hate. You'll notice, ironically, for what we're talking about right now, I'm the only one that has a mic because it's the only way that we can get this to work while on the road. Carla doesn't have a mic back there. She's not saying anything. I'm just kind of talking, running roughshod over this whole video. Stuff I hate is actually when Carla goes into a game store and, well, for instance, when we go into a magic shop, right, where there's illusions, we don't do this anymore because they don't exist much anymore, and maybe there's a reason they don't exist anymore. Customer service is not that great. It's dirty, it's old, they're dusty. Sounds like another set of brick and mortar shops that we know, doesn't it? Anyway, I'm aware. When we go in, they look at Carla, who is on stage 100 and something days a year, performing on stage. She does mentalism illusions as well, right? She's an amazing person. She writes most of our material for the show. When she goes in there, though, they go up to her with the cheesiest, simplest, silliest little tricks, like the floppy rope. There's a rope that you turn it this way. Look, it's straight out in the air. It's floating, and then you turn it this way, and it flops, right? They'll show her this, like, come here, young lady, check out this trick. You're going to love it. I understand they mean well. However, they don't take the time to realize that Carla is not an amateur. She is she's a grown woman and she's a professional. So in gaming, when we walk into a game shop sometimes, they'll pull out the very simple, now I understand maybe it's not a thing where they don't know what we know. But we do this thing where I try to narrate sometimes. It's what we call narration, where I go in and I talk about everything. She doesn't do it. I do it because it's kind of nerdy. I go in and I narrate, right? I talk about all the things I know in board gaming, not in an obnoxious way, just kind of in a fake conversational way, just to kind of tip them off that, hey, we know a little bit about this hobby. You know what I'm saying? Invariably, though, something like, hey, have you tried Flux? You can like Flux. That's fine. Have you tried Munchkin? Carla hates Munchkin. Did I mention that? But they'll always pull these games out without going, hey, have you heard of Scythe? That's Carla's favorite game right now, Scythe. Metal coins and all. Instead, they go for these easy, simple games. And it's just something I recommend is never take people for granted, right? In what their interests are and what their hobby experience is. She's a girl, right? Sometimes we take girls for granted in the hobby. It's probably not a great thing, you know? But that would be my thing that I hate, is when people take other people's experience and all that stuff for granted. I understand it comes from a place of being nice at first, but try to find out a little bit about a person first, and then maybe do some suggestions or things like that. So that's Stuff I Like, Stuff I Hate for this week on Throat Punch Launch. Thanks for watching. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and the new Instagram account at The Latest Retro. We'll see you next time. Maybe. I don't know. Carla may not be here. Oh, yeah.
Hey everybody, it's Jay, and it's time to talk about your Flair. Hey, are you guys ready to see some sweet ways to spruce up that game room? Well, first and foremost, let's see who won the sweet Underleague giveaway. Alright everybody, I had 22 people enter the giveaway for the copy of Underleague from Call Great Games and that sweet piece of Flair that I made that displays art from that game. So here I've compiled a list on Excel of 22 different people that entered. And to fairly pick, I will open up a random number generator on my phone. Here we go. I'm going to enter 22 people on here. And whatever number this comes up with is going to be the winner. So we got number 5. And that looks like Sharon Clayton. Congratulations, Sharon Clayton. You're going to win this nifty piece of Flair, which coincidentally does count towards your 15-piece minimum. Also, you're going to win the game Underleague, and I'll probably throw some extra things in the box just for fun. Everybody, Underleague is on Kickstarter right now. That game has something to offer for everybody, from seasoned card gamers to brand new ones. Is anybody ready to talk about some other Flair? Hey, there's 3 types of people in this world. People who love Blood Rage, people who like Blood Rage, and people who act like they don't like Blood Rage, but they secretly like Blood Rage. I'm just kidding, guys, but seriously, I love Blood Rage and I will play it every single chance I can. And that's why I made this piece of Flair, because I love Blood Rage. Let's check it out. For this piece of Flair, we're going to need a piece of wood. This one is 18 inches by 32 inches. Then we're going to need some fire tone spray paints and some black and white spray paints. We're also going to need a plastic bag. We're going to need 2 stencils. One stencil is black for detail, the other stencil is for color. Both stencils are drawn on contact paper. We're going to need an X-Acto knife to cut each stencil out. Then we're going to need some silver spray paint. Also, we're going to need some brown, yellow, black, white, silver, and skin tone paints and paintbrushes. Then we're going to need a scrap piece of cardboard. And finally, we're just going to need some clear coat to finish. First, I base coated the wood with white and let it dry. Then, I quickly spray painted a thick layer of 2 yellow tones onto the wood, immediately followed by a thick layer of 2 orange tones, immediately followed by a little red. And finally, I quickly sprayed a thick layer of black. All of the fire tones are sprayed on in quick succession and not allowed to dry. Immediately after the black layer is sprayed, I take the plastic bag and press it onto the wet paint. I repeat the bag process until I have my desired effect. You can change out your bag if you need to, if your original bag gets too covered in paint. Then I roughly spray paint a black border around the outside. I let that dry completely. Once dry, I applied the colored stencil. Once I have it where I want it, I made sure to mask any bare parts of the canvas with the contact paper backing. Then I cut along all the lines on the stencil. Notice I have my stencil marked S for silver, B for brown, and I also have beard and flesh sections. Once the entire stencil has been cut, I peel off only the silver sections. Then I liberally spray over the stencil in silver spray paint. Once that has completely dried, I peel off the brown sections. I mix varied shades of brown from medium to dark using browns and blacks, and hand paint it onto the brown sections, using the box art as reference on what shade of brown to use. I go over and make sure I have all the sections covered brown that need to be, including some painted silver that I may have messed up when making the stencils, like his foot. Once I have the browns done, I peel the beard and braid section off the stencil. Then I mix browns and yellows to get a nice blonde tone and paint those sections. Then I peel the flesh sections off on his face and paint them flesh tone. Once all those paints are dry, I then use the fire tones to lightly add the radiant light from the background fire. First, I lightly spray the darkest tone orange, then work my way back to the lightest tone of yellow. Once dried, I then add highlights and lowlights in silver using various tones of silver by mixing silver with white and black respectively. Use the box art as reference on what sections to high and low light. Once all the colors are finished and dry, I apply the black detail stencil. I cut pieces from various sections of the stencil to ensure it's aligned correctly. Once it's 100% surely in place, I patiently cut out the entire stencil with an X-Acto knife. This took me a very long time, but don't rush it. It's better for it to take a little longer than to cut corners. Once the stencil was completely cut out, and I got feeling back into my hand, I masked up any bare spots on the canvas with the back of the contact paper. Then I spray painted the entire stencil black. Once that dried, I peeled off that stencil and touched up any areas by hand with black that needed it. Then I cut a long straight shape from the scrap cardboard as a stencil for the lightning and added a few lightning bolts with white spray paint. Finally, I clear coated the entire piece. This can be a piece of shelf flare by just leaning it on any large shelf, or a piece of wall flare by hanging it with any hanging technique I've displayed in the past. Boom! There you have it. Not so quick, not so easy way to add some flair to your game room. Hey, quick shout out to Thomas from Custom Tags for helping me out with this stencil. You are awesome. Everybody, go check out Underleague on Kickstarter right now. That game is amazing and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Hey, if anybody has any games or ideas they'd like me to make into some flair, just leave them in the comments below, or you can shoot me a message on Twitter at halfhandicapped. But better yet, get on Facebook, go to 15 Pieces of Flair with J Peak, and leave me a message on there. Maybe let me know your favorite game or something. Hey, I like giving stuff away for free too, so maybe you'll get something. And if you guys could, go check out my YouTube channel. It's just called Pique Your Interest. Just a little channel. That'd be great. I'd love that. And don't forget, 15 Pieces of Flair is the bare minimum. Some people choose to do more, and we encourage that. Have fun, everybody.
Hey everyone, welcome to Countercharge, and today we're going to talk about this beefy boy right here, the Bits Box. Yeah, this is a really cool storage solution that has come out for your board games. It's really awesome. So let's go ahead and check it out on the close cam. All right, this guy is the Bits Box. So what you can do is take a whole bunch of games and put them in here. This thing right here is for putting your boards in there. As you can see, we've got Zombicide stuff in there right there. That's why I got this solution. This is for my son and his Zombicide games. And then it's got 4 of these drawers that have the Bits boxes in them right there. And if you open this one up, you can already hear them in there. There's your Zombicide characters. That's right. He doesn't take very good care of them, but they're plastic, so and they're not painted yet, so not a problem. Now you think this is the only Bits box that they got, but you'd be wrong. All right, this guy right here is Bits Box Mobile. That's right, you want to take it on the road. So there you go, nice meeple pattern on the inside. And these components will look familiar to you. This is for carrying your boards. This little cardboard insert right here comes out if you want it to. And then there's 2 more of the Bits trays inside here, as you can see. Here's one of the smaller ones. You know, very nice size and stuff like that. And you can write on them if you want. And you can just check them out. So, very, very nice. And obviously these will switch in and out with your larger unit. And so you can just toss them in on the road and off you go. Very nice design, very nice construction, as you can see there. Ready to go. All right, so that's it, BitBox. Now, I'm going to put up a little graphic there with the website so you can go check that out. It's not active yet. They're finishing up the Kickstarter fulfillment, and you can go check it out. But guys, this is a great solution, so go check it out. Bits Box.
Hey, welcome to Throat Punch Lunch. My name is Bobby, and this is We'll Learn As We Go, where I'm going to be talking to you about a game and how I would teach that particular game. Not trying to suck up or anything, but this week that game happens to be the Eric Lane game, Blood Rage, from Cool Mini or Not. Blood Rage is another attractive game that you could have set up or be setting up as people come ready to play. And as you're doing that, you could briefly point out a few things about the board and the components. You can point out that the game board is bordered by a point track, say that the goal of the game is to get the most glory points. Also, the game board is divided into different regions. that are further divided into provinces. But as you're talking about the board, you could also talk about how Ragnarok tokens work to shrink the board as the game goes on. While you're talking about the components, you might also want to talk about the player components, including a leader, their player figures, and a ship, which you might want to cover really quickly, works in fjords. And you can also point out the figures that everybody's probably wondering about at this point. These big old monster figures. There are a couple of rules that you want to cover when referencing specifically the clan sheet, including the strength of the figures listed here, the upgrade card slots. Also, you're going to want to cover a few terms in the game. The terms can get a little confusing, so make sure you cover the difference between what rage points are, what clan stats are, including the rage clan stat. And lastly, you could talk about glory points as you point out the thresholds for bonus glory points on the clan stat. Now you can take out the story track and briefly overview the rounds of the game. Tell the players that the game will take place over 3 ages. These are the different phases that will happen in each age. Point out the Valhalla board is where figures go when they die. Now you can talk about the different phases of play, starting with the drafting phase. Teach players how to do the drafting mechanic and show the players what kinds of cards are available using examples like the upgrade cards, quest cards, and battle cards. You can quickly talk to players about the discard phase. Not a whole lot to talk about there. You could talk to players about the quest phase. You could talk to players about the Ragnarok phase. You've already talked about the points to be earned during this phase, but go ahead and cover that again. And then you could cover the release Valhalla phase, where the figures that are on the map stay on the map, but the dead figures return to the player's reserves. Next, you could talk about the action phase. I'm going to briefly cover the rule that everybody goes until everybody's run out of rage or everybody passes. We cover that if you run out of rage, you can't take any more actions. First, you want to cover invading. Remind the player where to find their figure strength, because that's going to be the rage cost to invade, except for the leaders. Invading with leaders is free, of course. Direct the player's attention to the board and the different stat rewards on the board, because this is the reason why players are going to want to pillage and invade. And direct players' attention to the empty villager spots, and remind the players that even the big old monsters take up 1 village spot. When you cover the march action, you want to really stress that this is how players can get their figures into Yggdrasil. Upgrade actions are when you use the cards to either gain monsters or upgrade existing units that you already have. Remind players that when they filled up all their upgrade slots on their clan sheets, they have to replace one. And also tell players the rule that if you've upgraded a unit, you can invade with that unit for free that turn. When talking about the quest cards, at this point you might want to remind the players that if they have no rage, they're not able to take an action, even if that action costs 0 rage. And once they pass, they're done. Pillaging is what happens when players actually want to get into battle. First, stress that only winners of a successful pillage will get the stat reward. If you win, but you are on defense, you don't necessarily get that reward, but you get however many points you have for your act stat. So you're going to want to cover a battle sequence, including calling for battle. Oh, let's battle! Alright. And playing cards. Oh, I play this card. And also talk about what happens to winner cards and loser cards. If you play a card and you won the battle, you lose it. But if you play a card and you lost the battle, the player gets to keep it. And also cover that if you tie, all the figures lose and go to Valhalla. So that's how I would teach Blood Rage. Thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed the rest of the show. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. My name is Bobby. This is We'll Learn As We Go. Bye.
Throat Punchies, I'm Forrest from Bauer's Game Corner. I'm back again for 3 reasons where I do something vaguely related to the number 3. Last episode, I dug down deep in the rabbit hole known as Board Game Geek, trying to figure out the worst 3 rated games of all time that had at least 30 ratings. Unfortunately, I found out they were like Tic-Tac-Toe, LCR, and Rock, Paper, Scissors. So then I continued to dig a little bit deeper and unfortunately once again realized that it was just 3 mass market trivia games. But this time, we're not doing trivia games, we're not doing old classic games. I figured out the 3 worst games of all time on Board Game Geek according to real ratings. And unfortunately, I've actually reviewed 2 of these as well, which what am I doing with my time? But let's check them out. Sitting at number 13,600, we have The Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring from Rosart. Nature's Tea wrote, copious amounts of alcohol couldn't make this game interesting. Lord Bleacham said, mind-numbingly boring and pointless. And then the Drin said, psychologically, I am a pack rat. I can't throw things away. I keep games that I absolutely hate. But in this case, I actually threw it away. If it's that bad that a pack rat throws it away, you know it's got to be pretty terrible. That's the one I have not played. Moving on to 13,575, we have, oh my gosh, my second worst game of all time, Lost the Game from Cardinal. Ron Hatch wrote, after about 45 minutes of playing, somebody found a rule that covers what to do if a player quits. Most of us decided that meant that quitting was specifically allowed by the rules and immediately took advantage of that. Yes, that is actually in the rules, and there's even a part of the rules that says if you can't figure out how something works, yeah, just kind of wing it. It's no big deal. Ivan wrote, I was interested for the first 20 minutes and wishing it would end for the next 2.5 hours. And then, of course, I said this in my review.
This feels like tissue paper. I feel like I should wrap this around a present at Christmas time or shove it into a gift bag. Oh my gosh, this game is the worst game that I have ever played.
Truly and absolutely atrocious game. So, moving on to number 13,574, we have The Hobbit, The Defeat of Smaug. Braz wrote, if you want to pay money to play rock, paper, scissors, then this is your game. Wardad wrote, I wonder if there was no playtesting, or if the designers didn't have time, or they just didn't care. And then, of course, Spartacus wrote, a truly horrible game. The rules don't make sense, and the components are amazingly expletive. Now, that one I actually kind of disagree with. I actually kind of dug that game. I gave it a pretty decent rating, I think. I thought it was a decent family game, but hey, the majority of Board Game Geek clearly disagrees with that. So those are the 3 worst games of all time, and you might notice they're all IP cash-ins, which oh, I don't want that. I want to know what the real 3 worst games of all time are. The ones that someone actually tried to make a hobby game and just failed spectacularly. So next week, final episode of this, I'm going to dig even more through the numbers, through the ratings, and we're going to get to the bottom of this and find out what the 3 worst hobby games that have come out in the last 20 years are, last 20, 25 years are. So stay tuned for that. If you enjoy what I do, please be sure to check out my channel. As always, back to more throat punching goodness.
Hey everyone, Tim Jennette, the Metal Meeple here, and I just got back from a gaming convention just a few hours ago, so I'm super tired, but I went to Lexicon, and it's a gaming convention in Lexington, Kentucky. It's a smaller convention, maybe 500-600 people or so, but there's plenty of things going on. They had state championship for games, and they had like the pandemic survival thing, lots of free-to-play, or learn-to-plays, and play-to-wins, where you get to have a chance to win the copy of the game that you play at the end of the weekend. There's tons of those, huge library, all kinds of fun stuff. So I put together a small montage video to show you guys maybe a little bit of taste of it if you're ever wanting to maybe go to Lexicon. It's the same time every year. So anyway, those who did come up to me and recognize me from the Dice Tower, that was awesome. Thank you so much for saying hi. And anyway, enjoy the video.
Hey folks, it's Jeremiah Acevedo, the Board Game Renegade, and welcome to another edition of Hello, Is It Theme You're Looking For? Today we're going to be doing something different. I'm at the Gun Hill Brewery here in the Bronx, New York, hosting a game night, and I love theming games because it's very important to me, but I'm going to find out what the guests here think about theme.
A theme is fairly important to me in games. It puts everything in context, kind of really connects you with the game, and
Is theme important to me? Absolutely. It gives you an opportunity to really explore a world or become somebody else, or the mechanics give you gravity to what you're doing when it's tied to an appropriate theme. It needs to happen. Every game needs to have a solid theme.
Theme is important to me as a new board gamer, from someone who played console games and MMOs. Theme to me allows me to become the character. It allows me to connect to the game itself. And if it has a rich theme, then I want to build my character and create a world that I can thrive in.
Theme is very important in a game. It's the first thing that gets me interested in playing. If I'm not attracted to the theme, chances are I'm going to look past the game.
Theme is important to me in game because it helps me feel like I'm more involved in the game and that it's happening all around me. It really gets me into the game.
I do believe theme is important to games just because of that immersion aspect, so you can like really feel like I'm not playing a board game, like I am this character, or I am a Viking, I am a wizard. Like, it's very important to me.
I'm fairly new to this level of gaming. I've not played board games before. I just started about maybe 2-3 months ago. I would have to say theme is extremely important to me because as I'm starting to understand game mechanic and so forth, the mechanic can be fantastic, but if you're not drawn into the game by the theme, after 1 or 2 plays, you're not going to want to play anymore. So theme is extremely important.
Alright, so for me, theme is less important. I am more of a strategy gamer than I am a theme gamer, but this one right here, you love theme games.
Theme is very important to me. It is what keeps me enthralled in the game and makes me want to come back more and more.
For sure. I would say theme is very important to me in games. It allows for the immersion in a game, my ability to become that character and to really care about it.
Yeah, theme is extremely important to me in games. Theme makes a game greater than it could be otherwise. Even if a game has a theme and I don't really enjoy the game, the theme will pull me into the game deeper and it'll make it a whole lot more fun. Theme also makes it so that if I'm losing a game, I can still have a great time while I'm playing the game.
Theme is very important to me in board games. It ties together the mechanics of the game with something more, the story, the theme, the plot, and that's really what makes a game complete for me.
Yes, I would definitely say theme is important to me. It helps make you immersed in the game, and then you feel like you're not playing just a handful of mechanisms that are put together, but you're really doing something fun and unique.
Alright folks, so once again, I am the Board Game Renegade. I hope you enjoyed this segment. Until next time, peace out!
So that was another
Throat punch lunch.
throat punch lunch. He's doing a good job of saying the 3 words that I told him to say. This is my youngest son, Aiden, by the way. And so he is here with me at the new studio. Where we came here after church to get this recorded so I can put the show together tomorrow on Monday, actually. But that is that. Thank you, sincerest thank you for watching, and a very heartfelt, also sincere thank you to all of my contributors for putting together an awesome episode in my absence. Next time, I will have at the very least another accessorize segment for you because I got a new organizer in that I'm going to put together and show that off as well. So without further ado, I'm going to stop taking up your time, and thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later on the flip side. Say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool Stuff, in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Wait.